Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lucy and this is my October wrap up. We read 10 books this month. Excitingly, I have started to digital book journal. I tried doing a physical book journal and I'm not artistic. Like, I don't have nice handwriting. I don't have artistic flair. I don't know what to embellish around like stuff that I write and stuff. Like every time I try to journal, it makes me unhappy, you know? Like, journaling is meant to be this like nourishing thing for the soul. And when I do a physical journal of any kind, where it's like a bullet journal or book journaling, things like that, I get upset. And so I was like, let's just do it digitally. So I found this cute template, and over the past couple of days, I've been going through and adding all the books that I've read this year. But anyway, it's got these lists, like it's got a list for did not finish, and so I've got, you know, stuff for that. And then it's also got, you know, a monthly books read column and monthly reflection where you can be like, this is my favorite book, da da da, whatever. So that was really fun, and I can't wait to do this properly, like book by book, because I feel like when you do it in one, it's like, no, I'm not gonna go through and write down a book review for the 99 books that I've read so far this year. I think we're at 99, I'm pretty sure. Okay, the sweater was ambitious and it had to come off. That's showbiz, baby. The first one I read was on my Kindle. It was A Binding of Blood, which is the second in the A Practical Guide to Sorcery series. I started that one in this vlog and I've kind of been reading it over the past couple of months now. In between other books I read, I will be also kind of reading one of the books in this series. If you've missed me talking about this series, the Too Long Didn't Read is that you follow a young girl called Siobhan who gets mixed up in a situation where she ends up stealing, quote unquote, like someone else steals it and just gives it to her and she's like, ah, and runs away with it. But technically she stole this book that like the government and the university and the city are trying really hard to get back. Now, she is wanted, and the book also came with this like necklace that allows her to change skin into the body of a man. Because she's wanted in her female form as Siobhan, she goes to this elite university in this city as the male version of herself. Like, it's kind of really hard to explain, and that's where I'll leave the explanation, because this series goes so in depth and it would be hard for me to find a line to draw in terms of like what is plot, what is spoiler, you know? So I'll leave it there. I am really enjoying it though. The story at the moment is progressing through her going through university, as well as the city and the they call them coppers, trying to solve this mystery about like who stole the book. And you know, the stakes are quite high, because if they work out it's her, then her whole life basically goes down the drain, and all she wants to do is be this like amazing thaumaturge and study this sorcery and witchy poo stuff. Anyway, I gave this one 4 stars and I'm currently reading the third one, so that's good. I do recommend this series. I've talked about it a lot in the sense that it is so convoluted and I feel like it does need to be dumbed down just a little bit, but I've gotten back into the groove of like, when I'm not understanding stuff, like a lot about this book goes straight over my head, I just kind of skim it a little bit and I come back. So I'm like right in there with the plot, but the magic itself sometimes goes straight over my head. But I do recommend it if you're into a very like in-depth academia fantasy kind of thing. Oh, Persuasion! The next 4 are from when I did my Jane Austen video, so I'm not going to be going into depth of all of these because I definitely did in that video. So if you do want to hear about my experience of reading Jane Austen for 7 days straight, go and watch that video. But we started with Persuasion, and this one caught me so off guard. I really loved this book. It flew by for me. I read it in a night and I gave it 4.5 stars. This was unreal. I loved it. Emma, I gave 3.5. I no doubt have rated books of lower quality a higher rating, but based on entertainment value and how kind of quickly I went through it, it sits at a 3.5 for me. It just felt like it dragged a little bit, that's all. Just a little bit slow at times for me. Sense and Sensibility, this one reminded me a little bit of Persuasion. It follows a similar kind of plot in my opinion. And I initially gave it a 3.5, but after a few days, while I was still reading, like I think I was up to Pride and Prejudice, I kept thinking about the characters. And so I went back and I decided this one is a 4. And about a month later, like this still sits at a 4 for me. I think that's fair. The alternate title for this book is Men Ain't Shit. Thank you. And then we read Pride and Prejudice. Not for the first time. This was a reread. This is 5 stars. No more questions. Thank you. Magnolia Parks. I read this book on my Kindle and I read it on this video, and this book surprised the hell out of me. I saw this get really good reviews on social media, but there are certain corners of the book community where if a book gets a really, really high rating, like it goes gangbusters and everyone's loving it, I tend to shy away from it. Because I know, and this is one of those things where it's like, I'm 27 and my life experience is very different to someone who's like 18 or 19, younger. And a lot of the books that I've read that have been like really popular on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and stuff end up being like the flattest, most unfleshed out books I've ever read in my life. For example, Elsie Silver. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. If you like it, I'm so glad that you do. But based on that kind of thing, a lot of the time when I see a book go crazy on the booktube community, I tend to be like, okay, like here we go, like I'll take it with a grain of salt kind of thing. But Magnolia Parks slapped. You follow a mildly neurotic, extremely wealthy socialite in London with all of her extremely wealthy socialite family friends. And she has a love interest called BJ, and her and BJ have the most toxic relationship on planet Earth, and yet are also giving star-crossed lovers. Shakespeare, eat your heart out. This was written like Gossip Girl, and honestly it pretty much was Gossip Girl but just set in the UK. It reminded me of the OC at times, and really any like teen drama show in the early 2000s, and also had an essence of top tier One Direction fanfiction. If you know, you know. I don't know, it just like, I loved this. It was super enjoyable. 4 stars on entertainment value alone. And I'll probably be reading the next ones in the series. Award for the shittest book of the month goes to Ward D by Miss Freida McFadden. Again, this was on my Kindle because she puts every single book she ever writes on Kindle Unlimited. I assume she's making absolute bank, but like my dad's an author and I see his Kindle Unlimited like reads, like you get paid like 0.0002 cents per page read kind of thing. So you really need a massive audience of readers that are reading your books on Kindle Unlimited for it to pay off. Oh, welcome back. You'd like to come back inside. Come on. Rat likes to sit on the balcony on the chair out there, and I love that for her. I think that's a really cute little thing that she does by herself. But I had to film the video, so I had to shut the door so that the traffic noise wouldn't come in. And she's decided she'd like to join us again. Yes, hello. Continue as you were. Anyway, Ward D, I don't know why I keep reading Freida McFadden. I really don't. I've never rated a book of hers higher than 3, and now we have a 2-star. You follow a student nurse who has to spend the night, like a shift at a psychiatric ward as part of her placement, and basically everything goes wrong and shit hits the fan. It was so unbelievable. Like, not unbelievable as in like shock factor. I mean, like, it just wasn't believable at all. The main character could win a Darwin Award. Like, she was so fucking stupid, and I was rolling my eyes constantly reading this book. And I'd like to note here that I come from a bit of a nursing family. My dad was a psych nurse when he was younger, and so I know a lot about it through him, and so I think that was just like part of the reason why it felt comical to me at times. But yeah, I don't know, I just like, you can't win them all, and this one sucked in my opinion. So yeah, 2 stars for that. Phantasma! Ah yes, the big Kindle Unlimited favorite of the minute. This one's a romantasy, and you follow a girl who's 18, early 20s, I can't remember honestly, but she comes from a line of witches or like witchy poo essence, can't really remember. But they're having money trouble, and in order to save their house from being foreclosed by the bank, she enters a trial. She enters a competition called Phantasma. Big Triwizard Tournament vibes. Man, I remember at some point I was writing a list on my phone of all of the elements that were either in the Triwizard Tournament or just similar to, like, were in Harry Potter in general. But to be honest, like, that wasn't a bad thing. Like, I was really enjoying it and I was flying through it. I was really liking it. It was super engaging. I didn't find it hard at all to immerse myself in the competition, which in some fantasies, like action scenes and scenes like this in general tend to go over my head. Like, I'm not 100% sure I understand it. And this has been the case for my entire life. Like sometimes I'll watch a movie that was based on a book that I read and loved, and I'm watching a scene like, that is not what was going on in my head at all. If writing is a bit convoluted or like overly descriptive, it tends to lose me, but Miss Kaylie Smith, she did a good job with this one and I really liked it. As I said before, it was romantasy, and I think I pretended that I didn't see that for most of the book until we hit the 60% mark and it started to go downhill a little bit for me. I just got bored with back-to-back sex scenes and proclamations of love between characters that had known each other for like 5 days. So it ended up with a 3, but heavy but here, if you like romantasy, you'll probably eat this up. Like this is a potential 4 or 5 starer for you, in my opinion. I don't really care about romance, to be honest. There isn't anything really, oh, we're doing home improvements up there. I'm so proud of you. And it's not your fault that I'm filming a YouTube video. I hope it goes well. But anyway, 3 stars for that one. Where the Crawdads Sing, where did I put you? There you are. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Holy fuck! This was so good. I read this one in this video and I went into it pretty much in depth in that. Like I went through the whole book. No spoilers obviously, but like my experience throughout. So if you want that, please go and watch that video. This is also a pretty big book that I'm quite late to, so I'm not gonna go heavily into it right now, but I loved this. The writing was beautiful, impeccable, and the author absolutely knew her stuff. The ending was unbelievably satisfying, and it was a 4.5 stars. The only reason that this didn't get a 5-star for me is I think it just didn't tickle every corner of my brain, and that's where the missing 0.5 is, you know? But I've been thinking about this, I talked to people about it, and to be honest, the video that I was talking about, all of the comments, like most of the comments are people being like, I'm obsessed with Where the Crawdads Sing as well. Like everyone's just commenting on that video being like, Crawdad fan club. So yeah, proof is in the pudding. If you have not read this one, I recommend it. And then we did All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Again, this one was on my Kindle. This is a mega popular historical fiction that I, again, am late to. It's about 2 youths growing up in World War II German-occupied France, and it missed the mark for me somewhere. I really liked the story and the overall journey that these kids were on. I loved the split POVs and I liked the writing. But to be honest, I was just a little bit bored reading this and I wanted to like it a hell of a lot more than I ended up liking it. And it was a bit disappointing, to be honest. My heart just wasn't really in it. So I did give this one a 3.5. Having said that though, I don't not recommend it. Does that make sense? Like I know everyone loves this book and it's got potential for you to put it at 5 stars. It just didn't do everything it needed for me to be obsessed with it. And finally, we DNF'd one book. Her name was A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. Shut the fuck up, that is not your name. I'm just thinking about an Italian man getting out of the shower and there's no towels on the rack. And so he yells out, give me more towels. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't even know how the fuck to describe this book. It's actually really easy. I could probably do it in 1 sentence because nothing happens. A man gets in trouble with the Russian government and gets sent to exile in a hotel, and he has to live the rest of his life in this hotel, and he's not allowed to leave the hotel. That's pretty much... I loved how campy this was in the beginning. It was so much fun. I loved the little like witty quips and interactions he would have with staff members and other guests at the hotel. And I loved the character. And then I called my dad and he was at the shops and I was like, if there's a bookstore there, have a little look at A Gentleman in Moscow. Like you might like it because I'm really liking it. And he was like, oh, that rubbish. And I was like, what do you mean? Like I think I was probably like 10 to 15% through and I was loving it at that point, which is also a really weird spot to be recommending a book. I've learnt my lesson. He was like, this is just an author who sits there and goes, oh, I've got a plot. And then just writes out this fucking bizarre story and he's just got these ideas for scenes in his head. And I was like, oh, so you didn't, like there was nothing to it, like it wasn't real, it had no like emotion to it. And he was like, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, good to know. Like I'm gonna keep reading it because I'm loving it and it's slapping for me, and go fuck yourself, dad, basically. I DNF'd it at 61%. And it was firm DNF too. Like there was no part of me that was like, oh no, I really want to see, like I want to give it a chance. The whole book is him just walking in and out of rooms. These witty quips and interactions he was having with people lost their touch, and it got icky and just like, okay, like let's move it along. What's gonna happen? I couldn't tell you, didn't finish it. And currently I am reading the third in the Practical Guide to Sorcery series. It is called A Sacrifice of Light, and I am enjoying it. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys this week. I really hope that you guys had an amazing reading month in October. Please let me know in the comments, this is a non-negotiable, what your like best book was from this month, because I'm always looking for book recommendations and I can't read them all. You know what I mean? There's only so many hours in the day for me to read a book. So if you've got a recommendation, please drop it down in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed and you feel so inclined, I would love it if you considered hitting that button. Flirt with it a little, tease it, and then click on it, please. Thank you. I'm on Goodreads, Instagram, all of that fun stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!